Hey, welcome back to Coffee with a Kick. My name is Keegan York, if you don't know who I am. And if you're a returning listener, I usually have a co host, but my partner in crime, Zander Fadley, is off becoming an uncle for the second time. So if you think about it, comment congrats to Xander. And we're so excited for him to be an uncle times two. But we're here for soccer, and not just soccer, but Olympic soccer, the place where the world comes together every 4 years to compete against each other. And we find teams from everywhere in the world can come to this competition and be great. You can just never expect what's going to happen in Olympic soccer, and that's why we love it. That's why we chose to cover it. But before we get into that, Coffee with a Kick, we've been mentioning we're going to do a few new things. We're going to start growing the show a little bit more. We're going to continue this podcast style, but also do some other things so that we can start to engage a larger audience and engage you as a listener. The first of those things that we hope to continue throughout the entire Premier League and Champions League seasons coming up is giveaways. And the very first giveaway is going to be a 2022 Topps Champions League Riyad Mahrez base card. Now, we want to start these giveaways small because we want to build that anticipation. But boy, if you're a Riyad Mahrez fan, if you're a Man City fan, this card is actually really, really cool. It's a card that I've loved to have, but it's time to give it away. So to get this card, make sure you're subscribed so we know who you are, and then comment the name Riyad below this video. And by doing that, by subscribing and commenting, you're getting 10 entries. And then if you want an additional 10 entries, go ahead and like the video as well. So that's 20 entries for a 2022 Topps Champions League Manchester City Riyad Mahrez card. We will ship this to you wherever you are in the world, along with different thank yous from Coffee with a Kick. But without further ado, we're going to recap what happened in match day 2 of the Olympics. And how are you guys feeling about the format? I understand it's the Olympics, and I get you got to pack a lot of things in to a very short amount of time. But I've actually kind of enjoyed the format. There's no breaks in between the games. You're just kind of starting. Xander mentioned on the last episode that it can be a bit annoying to join games 10, 15 minutes into them because the stoppage time is so long. But I've enjoyed the back-to-back soccer. I know that this is a day that I'm going to dedicate towards just sitting and watching soccer. I know when my breaks are. So it's actually been really enjoyable for me, but let me know what you guys think. Sometimes people like the spread out nature. They like seeing games every day, but it's the Olympics. There's so many things going on. I've enjoyed the soccer being on the same day. And I do want to give a shout out to the USA women's national team. They won their first match 3-0. Then they just defeated Germany 4-0. Their new coach, Kelsey Hayes, is off to a great start. So shout out to them because there are a lot of doubts going into that. A lot of the older, more seasoned generation got left back at home. They didn't travel to Paris. And this is a younger squad, but it's been really cool to see them come together and be cohesive. But we're here to talk about the men's soccer because we know that game the best. And the first 2 matches in the morning went about as we thought they would, except they didn't. And I'm going to be referring to my notes here that Xander sent me. Argentina and Iraq. I enjoyed this one because it was a perfect pick for me. 3-1 Argentina win. Now, Xander predicted 2-0, but he still gets the win, but doesn't get a perfect pick. Argentina mostly dominated this match. If we look at the stats, it seemed like, well, what's going to actually happen here? But Argentina took over. They started playing the way they needed to play. And it was really refreshing to see Argentina actually begin this sort of style. You know, at halftime, it was 1-1. It looked like they were still getting into the match. But then they actually broke through there and really asserted their dominance against Iraq. The next match within these 2 different time slots was Spain and the Dominican Republic. Xander and I were actually very bullish on the Dominican Republic, and for good reason. At halftime, it was 1-1. And honestly, Dominican Republic had had a good chance. They go down 1-0 and you're thinking it could be bad, but then they tie it up in the 38th minute. And really, Spain is just methodical. Spain is going to break you down. They're going to play that tiki-taka style of football, and they broke them down. Zander predicted 1-1 draw. I predicted a 1-0 Dominican Republic win. Ultimately, the better team ended up edging this game, but really it was closer than some might have thought. We obviously are going to pick the more polarizing choices because we want to be right. We want to go against the spread as much as possible, but kudos to Spain for getting that controlling and dominating win. Now, the 10 o'clock games, those surprised me. I was not expecting Egypt to come out and beat Uzbekistan the way they did, especially when it came in an 11th minute goal. You're thinking 11th minute, these teams are probably going to go toe-to-toe for a while, but there wasn't a lot of action going on. And so Egypt ends up taking it, which was a huge 3 points for them. They have a chance to move forward now, depending on how this next upcoming set of games goes. And then Ukraine comes and surprisingly beats Morocco, but they beat them at the death. 90 plus 8-minute goal from Eor Krasnopar ends up being the thing that separates the two sides. We love to see it for Ukraine, but Zander and I both got it wrong. I actually had 2-1 Morocco winning. He had 3-2 Morocco winning. And then Egypt, Zander got a perfect pick for Egypt. He picked Egypt winning 1-0. I thought Uzbekistan was going to continue their good run that they had against Spain, potentially beating Egypt, but it was not to be. Egypt wins 1-0. And now we're going to move to the 12 o'clock matches if we're thinking Central Time. But New Zealand, USA, and Paraguay, Israel. If you were looking for goals, you needed to be tuned in to this set. USA wins 4-1. I almost got a perfect pick here, actually. Well, no, me and Zander both picked 2-1. I was looking at a different game. Me and Zander both picked 2-1. And USA, they look good. They looked really good. Again, if you're following along, you can go to Olympics.com/footballs/men's, and you can see all these stats, and it's rather invigorating. I mean, USA goes up 3-0 at halftime. They get a second one from Paxton, or a fourth one from Paxton Aronson in the 58th minute. Defensive breakdown in the 78th minute led to New Zealand's goal, but USA dominated from start to finish. And that was refreshing to see as a USA fan. I mean, obviously, right behind me, we've got the big USA name because it's really nice to see our US men's team actually do things well, actually play like a team and play like a cohesive unit. And then we go to Paraguay and Israel. This one, I predicted Paraguay winning 3-1. Zander predicted a 1-1 draw. I felt like Paraguay was going to bounce back. Paraguay's team is just much better than what they showed against Japan. Japan, I mean, methodical thumping of Paraguay in that first week, 5-0. Israel drawing Mali, not a great start. But Israel goes down 1-0 at half. They end up tying it 1-1, 2-1 Paraguay, again, going back and forth. And then 90+3 and 90+6, Paraguay gets the two deciding goals. And this one was rather exciting. Israel, especially at the end, actually had a few good attempts at goal and stoppage time, but couldn't quite find the back of the net. But I've been impressed with the way that these lower level teams have been playing, the way that they feel like a unit and the way that they may have not felt like they had a chance coming in, but they're actually playing up to stuff in some ways. But you can tell that level of quality is just showing a little bit more in match week 2 than it did in match week 1. And then we're going to go to two of these shocking matches, personally to me, not shocking in result, but shocking in the fact that France only puts up one on Guinea, and it took them till the 76th minute. Guinea played impressively in the defense. I mean, they stopped France from scoring for a long time. They actually broke down their attacks multiple times with the press. It was really, really good to see. And then Japan also 1-0, leaves it late as well, 82nd minute to Mali. Now, I mentioned in the preview episode to all of this that Mali actually was my dark horse because of the type of players they have. And I think they've just come short. I think there's still a possibility that they could move on if they beat Paraguay, but it's going to be tough. They're going to have to, they're only sitting at 1 point. They're going to have to actually beat Paraguay by a good bit. But good on Japan and France for finding a way, not settling for a draw, not settling for the fact that these teams are playing really well defensively. They continued to try and break them down. They continued to try and find that winning goal. And as a result, Zander goes 5-3 on the predictions with one perfect pick. I ended up going, let's see. Yes, I ended up going 4-4 with a perfect pick, a couple of picks that were only one goal off. But that's where we're at. It's where we're at here at the Olympics. We're just kind of shooting in the dark. And now I would encourage you again to pull up olympics.com/schedule/football. And we're going to look at the 30th of July, the men's teams coming to play. And starting at 8 a.m. Central Time, we have Dominican Republic and Uzbekistan versus Spain and Egypt. Zander predicts Dominican Republic to win 3-0 against Uzbekistan and Spain to win 2-0 against Egypt. My prediction is going to be Uzbekistan and the DR actually draw 2-2. I think both of these teams are actually very evenly matched across the board. And I think due to the fact of they know they both need a win, it's going to come down to a decently scoring draw. And in Spain, Egypt, Spain doesn't need to win it, but I feel like they want to continue that, Euro championship momentum. Their U23 squad now wants to say, hey, we don't want to be the team that loses this summer. So I think they're going to come out full force. I think they win 4-1. I think Spain really takes it, asserts some dominance, and makes some teams a little nervous about being matched up with them in the quarterfinals. Now, moving to 10 a.m. Central Time, we have Ukraine versus Argentina and Morocco versus Iraq. Now, Xander's predictions here, Argentina beating Ukraine 3-1 and Iraq and Morocco drawing. I think Ukraine and Argentina are going to draw 1-1. I haven't been impressed with Argentina until that second half of the last match. I think they finally figured something out, but I also think that's because they were playing Iraq. Ukraine is a much better side that it just has more football acumen. And so I think it's going to end up being a 1-1 draw. I think Ukraine has it in them. If they do draw, I think they go through because I also think Iraq and Morocco are going to draw 1-1 as well. And I think because of that, Ukraine's going to move through and they're going to feel pretty good about their odds in the quarterfinals. Now, the next set of matches, New Zealand versus France and United States and Guinea. If you're following along with the groups, this is Group A. We've already covered Group C and B. Group A is here at the 12 o'clock Central Time slot. New Zealand, France. Again, France has been they've kind of been playing like their Euro compatriots, They're leaving it late. They're not really figuring it out. Versus the U.S., they were able to break through a few times, but outside of their 3 goals, it didn't feel like a dominating performance. And I think New Zealand is not the best squad to be able to test France. I think it ends up going 3-1. I think France, again, gets 3 goals. They assert some dominance early, but I think New Zealand gives them some trouble and exposes some weaknesses. And in USA and Guinea, I think USA is going to be feeling really good after that 4-1 win. This squad feels a little different than previous squads in tournaments where we might win one 3-0 and then go lose to a team we're not supposed to 2-0. I don't feel that way. Zander predicts a 2-2 draw. My compatriot, I will have to disagree. I think USA wins this 5-0. I think USA is just going to start taking this momentum and start flying with it. And I think they figured something out. And now we're going to move to the last set of games, Group D. Israel versus Japan and Paraguay versus Mali. I think these are going to be very straightforward. Xander, on the other hand, doesn't think so. My prediction is Japan wins 3-0 and Paraguay wins 2-1. Xander believes Israel is going to beat Japan 1-0 and Paraguay and Mali will be 2-2 draw. And now looking ahead, August 2nd will be that next sort of date that we're going to be looking at as far as the quarterfinals. And then after that, we are going to have the semifinals on August 5th and the bronze medal match on the 8th and the gold medal match on the 9th. So we still have about a week and a half left of this soccer. And Xander and I are going to cover the reactions to this match week, of what this means for the groups. We're going to go over our group predictions, how we did, as well as talk about the standouts of what it looks like to see Olympic soccer in 2024, what this could mean for the 2026 World Cup, as well as 2028 Euros, because a lot of these players are in this tournament to set themselves up to be on those squads, especially the U.S. squad. And we already mentioned the Japan squad. They're one of the only squads that doesn't have an exemption player. All players are 23 or under. And so you get a feel that Japan is really trying to move towards grooming and getting their players experience for the World Cup and beyond. So we'll give our reactions to the results at some point, potentially with the bronze medal or gold medal match. Xander or I will live stream our live reactions to the game. The camera will obviously be on us for licensing reasons, but we'll be watching the match. We hope that you join us for that live stream. Just being able to see the reactions in real time, being able to get our reactions of what's going on, get our commentary. But again, if you missed it, rewind to the beginning of the episode for the giveaway. Again, you need to subscribe, comment, re-add below, and like to get those 10 or 20 entries into the giveaway. But without further ado, I would encourage you to go ahead and grab some coffee, watch this Olympic soccer in the beautiful city of Paris, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. I don't have a poorly sounded goodbye as Xander normally would. So I'm just going to say goodbye in English. Farewell. Hasta la vista. I will see you all next time. Peace.